my gosh. Alright, folks, we're here. We're going to do our end of the season recap, hand out projections for awards.
Co-commissioner of this league. We got
And-
our commissioner of the league right here, NFL League, Standard League. Welcome to week 13.
Is it?
This is it. Last week before playoffs, people have already secured. Chaka already secured first seed, secured his bye week. But right now we still have people fighting for that second seed bye.
I need that second seed.
And we also have a few people actually trying to lock in that sixth seed. But mostly first through fifth place is already locked up. Now we just need that sixth place, and let's see if it's a battle between Genesis, Julio, and Elvis. So let's get into this. Let's go with projections for projections week 13. Who do you think is gonna win?
So we have the matchup of a key one is actually people that don't pay attention to this one, but Brian and Josephat actually is a very important one because that can determine first round bye, second place, and also determine third and fourth seed, which is really important because you don't want to get stuck with the red hot team coming into the playoffs. Trust me, it's really, really dangerous. It's
and
really tough.
I don't mean to brag, Brian, but I am in a 5-game winning streak right now.
Okay,
so
I beat the undefeated team,
and that's
in the league.
okay. But you are facing right now very hard competition. It's gonna be a good game.
I've had the toughest schedule this league, and I'm trying to lock up that second seed, and I'm gonna do it.
Okay, so it's gonna be a tough competition. I lucked up my playoff seed. We're gonna get into comeback season. We're gonna get into manager of the year. We're gonna get into all these stuff. But first, let's get into our next matchup, which is gonna be George MAGA Jay-Z versus Chaka Sniper Gang.
So Sniper Gang has been on fire. Even though they got one loss, they're still the best.
Their first loss last week.
Still the best team statistically the best team in the league. Tough to beat, scary when they're on your schedule. But George,
I've never seen someone go 11-0 in my fantasy years. I was actually rooting for Sniper Gang to go 13-0.
I kind of felt bad when I won. I'm like, oh dang.
I was devastated. I mean, I wanted him to go 13-0 and then lose first game of the playoff, because that way he gets humbled and he recovers next year and knows that.
I think I motivated him.
Yeah, I think you did. It's like he's like the Patriots right now. With one loss, but they're ready to rock and roll. They have an amazing team. So yeah, and he's playing.
I think his weakness is running backs, but I feel like his strength is wide receivers and quarterback. He picks up any quarterback every week, and they always perform very well.
Good. Next matchup.
So this ones are very important. We got Tom Gravy, which is Pablo, and Daniel Rods 20, which is Daniel. Daniel needs to win in order to get in, but he needs help. So he needs Julio to lose, he needs Genesis to lose, and that's going to be tough. So I don't know.
And Tom Gravy is right now in third seed, but if he wins and you lose,
then he takes second seed.
He'll take that second seed.
And second seed is very important because you get a first round bye, and the people who are really wanting it and fighting it will pretty much eliminate themselves.
It's sad to see though how Daniel had two of the best running backs, Fournette and McCaffrey, and he just couldn't do anything about it. So that's a bummer. He couldn't make any trades.
Any successful trades.
He could have picked up a nice wide receiver, which he actually needs right now. He has Will Fuller, Jarvis Landry.
See, Jarvis Landry has been performing very well. Will Fuller, the Texans, I'm not really too confident about them, and they're playing New England this week, so it's gonna be very, very tough. But I feel like Tom Gravy's gonna win this game. I'm rooting for Daniel because I need that second seed, but I feel like Tom Gravy can actually secure this win.
You never know. McCaffrey keeps scoring those 30-plus points. Daniel could actually pull off this victory.
Yeah, but
I don't think Daniel will make the playoffs, but I think he could pull off this victory.
The fact that he has three Houston Texans starting and they're playing New England this week, that's not good. Yeah. That's looking tough.
Next one we have is Let's Mat It Up with Josh and the big team Marvin, who's actually in
last place. 12th place. He's dead
Um,
last. And Josh should win this game easily, but Abraham has had 2 key wins out of his all 3. They're kind of like shaking the standings up. But This week's performances don't look that good. Two of his players already played, and I'm not sure. I wouldn't count too heavily on Seattle's running back, and definitely on any player from um, the Jaguars. I wouldn't trust any of them right now.
Josh has a very strong running game as well. He has Dalvin Cook. He has Saquon Barkley. Um,
I feel like Barkley this week is gonna prove himself because the Eagles are somewhat, and the Cowboys just lost two very key games. So I'm not sure. So hopefully they can pull it off. Um,
Josh actually is coming from like a 2 or 3 game losing streak, right? He was hot, but that's what happens when you come into bye weeks and you get too confident. You start thinking you're gonna win every game, then bye weeks happen and you just
or you don't think about the future.
exactly.
Or,
You don't make any trades. You're scared to make trades.
That's the problem. A lot of teams are scared to make trades.
And that's what really caused teams that started off 3-0 to drop down to 7th, 8th, 9th place. For example, like Elvis.
Well, I feel like Abraham made a lot of trades, and they all
Too
backfired
many
on him.
trades. We'll get a little bit about who's
I
the
think-
worst trader,
I think-
who's the best
I
trader.
think even Abraham offered his first child, as one of the trades. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure about this guy.
Abraham, next season, just remember, you got to make trades that are going to help you.
So this game we have Genesis versus Timmy, Genesis versus Got the Edge. So this is a very key game. Genesis had a hot start and then she fell off the map. Luckily, she hasn't stepped out of the top six, which is good. But Timmy's only been in the top six for about 2 games, so he has a big drop. His win will just pretty much knock Genesis out, which is very, very crucial. Given the fact that this is Genesis' second year and she's trying to make the playoffs back to back. But her lineup looks strong. Hopefully, it performs strong.
She has one of the best tight ends. She has one of the best running backs, Ezekiel Elliott.
Last week she
Travis
benched Tyler Boyd, which had like 20-something points. That could have helped her to secure her
Kelce. She
seat.
just benched Dak Prescott. He had a pretty decent game. I mean, they lost pretty bad, but he had a pretty decent game.
After Aaron Rodgers' game last week, I would have
And I'm not
not started
looking
him.
too confident on T.Y. Hilton. He's been injured. He just came back from an injury. So
I think
see
what Genesis
happens.
has to rely on is
Definitely.
the Aaron Rodgers and the Patriots defense. I think that's what's been carrying her throughout the whole season, just like the actual Patriots. And then I think the last game,
Last game is game changer.
and this is actually probably the biggest game we should be looking into. All the other games are positional spots, but I think this is the biggest game. Whoever wins this game, depending on the previous game of Genesis and Genesis and Timmy, is Elvis and Julio. Can the game changer actually change the game? I don't know. His players today did a really good job.
Allen Robinson did really great.
Maybe starting the Jets was a really good deal because Cincinnati has not been producing. The Seahawks had a
Although they
great
do
game.
have Andy Dalton coming back, so we'll see how he produces as a quarterback. He's known for getting a lot of yards as well. But yes, I believe that is one of the biggest games because they both have a chance to actually make playoffs if Genesis loses.
Do you think it's smart for Julio to start Deshaun Watson playing against New England?
I think that's the only guy he can go with right now. He does have Daniel Jones on the bench. I don't know. Let's see who's on waiver right now for quarterbacks. Yes, Jared Goff. That actually might be a better matchup.
Jimmy Garoppolo's available.
Jimmy Garoppolo is.
But they are
facing
facing Baltimore.
Which
Ugh.
Baltimore has been producing defensively and offensively.
I'd take Baker Mayfield.
That's gonna be a very high competition, very high emotional game. I would honestly take Jared Goff, who's coming back from a horrible game, who's gonna have
And they're playing Arizona.
and we're playing Arizona.
Oh,
Jared
geez.
Goff has targets. Last
And
week
Cooper
it was
Kupp.
a hard game.
I think he's back.
Cooper Kupp is back. You have Robert Woods, who's coming back from concussion. I would say Elvis. If you're listening to this,
Pick up Jared Goff. Or Julio. Somebody got to pick him up.
Yeah. All right.
So, every year comes to an end. We come up with 2 awards that signify. Obviously, the number 1 award is becoming the Super Bowl champion, which currently is Sniper Gang. Chaka won last year. But this year, the manager of the year award, I think this is probably going to end up going to Chaka. I'd give it to Chaka for maintaining 11 straight wins.
I mean, he was just busting kids out there. Like, his points were up there. He was like nobody could beat him. He was producing 120 plus points. Literally, no one stood a chance.
The fact that he would rotate random QBs off the waiver wire and get big wins.
That's the way to win. Sometimes the quarterback that you draft, doesn't produce, and you have to just pick up off the waiver every week. Again, drafting doesn't win you championship. It's the waiver wire that does sometimes. Yeah. So good job, Chalker, for that. We're gonna give you that manager.
That's my front runner. Second place, I'd probably have to vote for Josephat just because he's been on a pretty big winning streak. Being out of the playoffs for a good 4 weeks in a row, so that's pretty good.
So I want to let you guys know I lost 3 straight at the beginning of the season, or 2 straight. I believe it was 3 straight. I started 0-3, but again, pickups, trades win you games. If your draft is not producing, it's time to make moves, even if that means you have to let go of your best players. You guys have to remember that. It's either I'd rather give up my best player to receive 2 good players, in which I know I can start every single week, that are going to give me consistent points. So, for example, we go back to Daniel. He has Leonard Fournette and McCaffrey, but he has no wide receivers. So why not give up one of those players?
I would have traded Julio Jones for Fournette.
And people wanted them. You could have given up Fournette.
They probably got a Mike Evans or a Chris Godwin.
People who are going to produce, especially in the beginning of the season when nobody knew Chris Godwin was going to go on a roll for the whole season. So that's when you have to make trades like that.
So I think the Tom Brady Comeback Award, my number 1 vote is Josephat, but if Elvis can get in, I'd say he can take it as well.
I agree with Brian with Elvis. Elvis got last place last year. He had to wear the embarrassing pony shirt last year, if you guys remember that. So for him to go from last place to almost making a playoff spot this year, I would have to give it to Elvis as well. I wouldn't give. I understand why you guys would want to pick me as a comeback player of the year. But if we're looking at last year and this year, I'm someone who always makes playoffs. I know how to win games. But Elvis, this is actually his 2nd year in the league.
From going last to making the last playoff spot,
exactly. So if he can make that playoff spot,
that'd be great.
We would definitely.
That's my top candidate. Disappointing team this year, I'd have to say, it's definitely gonna be Daniel. From having the heaviest running game and having a decent quarterback, and not being able to scratch the playoffs, I think disappointing. Even if he wins today, I don't think he's making playoffs. I think that's the biggest bust. You would think George, but his draft was a little weird with going with rookies.
I would have to say George. So George has been in the league for years. George has been in the league.
He's a former Super Bowl champion.
Yes, George has won the Super Bowl. He's made playoffs.
He's gone to 2 Super Bowls.
He's only been under 500 one, well, not including this year, but once out of the 6 years that he's been with our league. He went back to back in Super Bowls. 2014, 2015. He knows the game. He knows how to draft. And I think him just picking up 2 rookie running backs as his first 2 picks was a really, really...
A rookie mistake.
Yeah. And he's not a rookie. He should have never done that. So for him to... He's in last place right now. I'm sorry, he's in 11th place. That's somewhere where he shouldn't be. Daniel's is his first time in this league. And he might... He
had the most promise. But I feel like, he most likely
if George ends up getting 12th place and has to wear the shameful shirt this year, then we would have to give him the worst team of the year, or disappointing team of the year.
The surprise team, I'd have to go. I'm gonna say Chaka just because the way he played this year. He had an okay draft, but it's all the moves he made throughout the years. Throughout the season, I think that bumped him up. But I'm not sure. Every other team seems consistent.
I would have to give it to Tom Gravy. He wasn't even there for the draft. Timmy picked all his players.
Timmy should be disappointed team of the year.
Timmy should be disappointed team of the year because Timmy had the chance.
And they had to pick back-to-back.
To get all the players, they went back-to-back picks, and he had all the chance to pick the players that he picked for Pablo. And he gave Pablo the best players. And now Pablo's in third place,
And Timmy
locked in a
is
playoff spot, and Timmy
is in 10th.
is in 10th place. So I would have to give him. I would have to give Pablo the most.
That seems reasonable.
Surprising team of the year because he didn't even know what his team was until he saw it posted up on the app.
So yeah, I agree with that. So Super Bowl predictions. Here we go. Playoffs. If it stays the way it is, we're looking at Josephat versus Josh, and they have a lot of bad blood. His first Super Bowl win came against Josephat.
I should have won that game if I would have stayed consistent, if I would have made the right decision. But it was just
That's a good rivalry. That'll be a good game to look at because whoever wins is going to end up playing Chaka. And that's not looking good because I feel like if Genesis and Pablo play, Genesis will probably lose. So it's probably going to be Brian and Pablo facing in the semifinals. And then the winner of Josephat and Josh playing Chaka. And that's tough.
I think honestly, I think quarterbacks is a big play in the playoffs. Who does Josh have as quarterback?
He has Matt Ryan, who
He has
just
Matt Ryan.
blew it for the Falcons.
He's just not consistent enough. I have Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be a very interesting game. You know, I have much respect for Josh. He beat me in the Super Bowl. So I can't talk smack about him. You know, much respect towards him. That's going to be a really, really good game. But I think Tom Brady, if he plays Genesis in the playoff, is going to pull it off to advance. I think Super Bowl prediction. Honestly, I have to give it up to Chaka. I think he's going to make Super Bowl. Of course, if he faces me, it's going to be a tough matchup. But he might actually beat me as well. So I have my Super Bowl prediction. Depending on who makes it, it's either going to be, again, we don't have the real projections because this week hasn't finished yet. But I think Chaka is going to be one of them. And the second one is going to be a toss-up. I think all the other teams are pretty equal. I think Chaka has the advantage over all the teams. So I don't even know who
If we have to
the second
pick,
team's going to be.
of course I'm rooting for myself, but Tom Gravy has a really good team. And you never know with Josephat. And who knows if Josh can pull what he did in his first year in the league and surprise everybody.
I tell everyone, you know what? Matchups are going to win
Last time
playoffs.
Josh won the Super Bowl, he went 7-7.
Know your stuff. Do your research because your best player might not win you the playoffs. Your best player might not win you the Super Bowl. That's what happened to me last year. I started all my best players, and the people on my bench produced more than my star players. So know your matchups. Do your research.
And
do your homework.
If Chaka and I make it to Super Bowl, it'll be the second Super Bowl in a row. There's two Bryans in the Super Bowl. That'll be dope.
Didn't that happen last time? Who Brian, the legendary retired Brian, Brian with a Y, Bryan, who came into this league for 2 years, went back-to-back Super Bowls, lost those 2 years, but he retired after that. He's considered a legend on our league because
He's like the Jim Kelly around
yeah, he just came, and although he didn't win a Super Bowl, he just came and just totally dominated our league for 2 straight years. He knew what he was doing. Long live the legend Brian. But yeah, I think the Bryans in our league have been dominating.
Yeah, I like that.
We see in our stats, you know, Brian Estrada has only had one season where he's gone under 500. Out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, this is the 8th season. He's only had one season under 500, and that was actually last year. We see Brian Chaka,
who's the only team currently playing that has never had a losing season.
Yep. He went 500 twice, but he's never had a losing season. And then we have the legendary Brian with a Y, who came into our season for 2 years, and he had dominating records 10-4 and 11-2. So the Bryans in this league have been dominating. What else we have?
We have playoff percentages. So the team with the most playoff wins is obviously the teams who've been in here longer. But we have Julio, who's been here for all 8 seasons and has only racked up 1 playoff win. So if he gets in, will it be worth it?
He has
I don't
no
know.
experience. I don't think he knows what he's doing. He made 0 trades this year.
Well, he did make a trade, but it ended up.
Did he?
it ended up working against his favor.
Yes.
He gave up one of the top three running backs in the league, and ended up getting Matt Breida, which is okay, and a 6th-round pick that might help him out, but he did give up Derrick Henry, who has been performing like a monster. So that might come back to haunt him. It looked like a good trade at the moment because the San Francisco 49ers were their backfield was constantly changing. It was a fair trade, but just it didn't work in his favor. So I don't know if that'll be enough to push him into the playoffs. But he does have next year to look forward to. Another team that's in the playoffs, and he's 500 in the playoffs. And again, that's Jay. He's only had one under 500 season as well, and it was barely. But his playoff, he's won as many games as he lost in the playoffs. So, he going into this, he is a scary team to look into. You don't want to be facing him, but if you do, you have a 50% chance of winning or not, which is good. But still, I mean, you don't want to be caught up in that matchup. So, if the standings stay, Pablo has a really tough matchup.
Who do you think is gonna get 12 plays, George or
Abraham? I'm rooting for Abraham.
Hoping Abraham gets 12 plays because that will.
The fact that he offered,
bit,
and he has to wear that shirt.
Yes.
The fact that you go into the league,
and we're gonna buy what, extra small, that can fit him a little bit tight.
The fact that you go into the league with
let's look at Abraham's stats as well.
Oh,
Abraham,
his
stats. He went 2 years 500, but he has more years under 500 than over 500. And listen to this: the years that he went under 500, look at his records: 4-10, 4-10, and 3-10. That's just horrible work, Abraham. If you wanna make it in this league, you gotta rack up some wins. You're gonna have to rack up some wins. Do your research. Have a better draft pick, my man, because your
and the year
just horrible.
He went 8-5. He had the number 1 pick, and they didn't even make the playoffs.
Wow,
that's crazy.
That is very, very crazy.
And the one he did make the playoffs, it was one and done. So I don't know. I think Abraham deserves it. The fact that he depended so much on Devontae Freeman was very costly, and he went so much in on the wide receiver from the Jaguars. So I think he was he was too stuck on these certain players that ended up ended up costing him.
I think another thing about Abraham, he makes too many fair trades. Trades are not supposed to be fair. Like, yes, they want to be certain, even enough to trade, but when you trade, you want to win the trade. You don't just want to trade and say it's a fair trade. We both win. Like, that's not what trading is all about. Trading is knowing that you're gonna give it a fair enough trade, but knowing that you're gonna have the best outcome out of that trade. And that's what people don't do. For example, when I traded for Tyreek Hill was suspended. Why did I trade for him, knowing that he wasn't gonna play the first 4-6 weeks? Was it? Because I knew I had Patrick Mahomes. I stacked Tyreek Hill and I stacked Patrick Mahomes up, and now we see that, that's killing the game. The other trades I made, or the other trade I didn't make, was Melvin Gordon. People wanted Melvin Gordon. I said, nope, I'm not going to trade him. Was he slow to pick it up when he came back? Yes, of course, that's going to happen. He wasn't playing football, but now he's picking it up. And I've made many other trades to make the playoffs. I even just recently picked up Tom Brady.
I wanted him in the wire.
I don't know why Elvis dropped him, but let's look at who Tom Brady's playing. And because honestly, if Tom Brady's gonna win me a game in the playoffs, I'd rather start Tom Brady over Patrick Mahomes
against the Dolphins.
Because he's playing
Cincinnati.
He's playing KC week 14. He's playing Cincinnati week 15. And he's playing Buffalo, in which, yes, Buffalo has a great defense, but the Patriots know how to win against Buffalo.
That has the best overall record against Buffalo. And it's going to be
at home. So you have to put this into consideration. Home game, away games.
So that was a good pickup. Because me and you were the only ones in the wire trying to get him.
My Super Bowl might be with Tom Brady starting as my QB and not Patrick Mahomes. That's how you win games, guys. Remember that.
The one trade that I did was a Derrick Henry trade. I saw what he did last year, and I'm like, I need him on my team because of his power and because of the way he runs and the way that team is set up. They're very defensive. So when that trade was able to go through,
we're almost gonna finish up. But let's talk about league changes. We have things that we want to consider, and we want your input in it as well. Are we gonna keep this? Are we gonna keep this
A standard league?
Are we gonna make it a PPR league? We're definitely something that me and Brian are definitely
We already agreed on it. We are making this a PPR league.
Yes.
For sure. That also can change the way people draft as well.
Exactly.
And it makes it more fair as well.
We're gonna take away the trading for round picks. It was a one and done.
Yeah, people didn't see the value in it. Once it came towards the end of the season, they were giving up picks like it was candy, and they didn't understand the true value of it. It could have been more rules towards it as well. I'm not gonna lie. But the teams who did trade for picks, you will see that it'll be only active until next season. We will not bring it back because I think it was mishandled, and I don't know if it was truly valued as well.
Something else we're also talking about is if next year tiebreakers are gonna be by head to head, or if it's gonna be points for. That's definitely something that we're gonna be taking into consideration as well. And other things like league prizes or what the loser gets and stuff like that will be taken into consideration also.
Another thing that we were discussing, but it's very iffy, just because the way the league is working, is keeping legendary players. It means you keep a player throughout your whole career until they retire or are injured and can no longer play. But that is that's very iffy because we're not a real team, so you're not really surrounding yourself around that player. But so I don't know. That's very hard because do you want to keep Julio Jones for the rest of your career until he retires? I don't know. So that was just brought up as an idea. I'm not sure if that's gonna go through, but for sure we definitely are making this a PPR league, and the draft picks, we're gonna have to eliminate those for the incoming year.
That's right. So do your research for those who've never played PPR. I'm actually in a PPR league this year. It's definitely different, more different than what I expected. I'm actually, if I win this week, I make playoffs. If I lose, I have the chance of not making playoffs. So it's definitely different. You definitely can't draft the same. You have to know who you're picking up, who's gonna get targets, and all of that. So yeah, I think that's it. Let's see who makes playoffs. I wish you all the best. And let's see who wins 12th, who gets 12th place, who has to wear that shirt. And
I'm voting for George. George is gonna get it. I'm sorry, Abraham's gonna get it.
I want Abraham.
Yeah, I'm voting for Abraham. So whoever's playing Abraham, please win. Who's playing Abraham? I think it's Josh.
Was it Josh?
Yeah, Josh. Josh, please be Abraham.
Josh, you gotta be Abraham, my man.
If not, you wear that shirt.
All right.
That's
I'm
it.
Jay.
I'm Brian. Until next year, folks.